Hello, this is Gio, and hey, we have a bathroom sink here. And if you look closely around the rim of it, you'll see really old, grody, mildewy, moldy, old sealant caulk around the sink. And so today what we want to do is remove this and re-seal the sink. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just scrape the old caulk away, kind of clean it up as best I can. And I'm just going to use a nice little scraping blade. I have a little Stanley holder here, and so it's kind of very nice and convenient to kind of use for scraping. And so I'm just going to start by scraping the old caulk. Now to do a good job, this might take a while, and you could see even after I got the majority of the old caulk out, there's still kind of some residue on the sink itself right here. And so you just kind of want to kind of work it as best you can to try to remove all the old caulk as you can, because if you don't, the new caulk won't adhere as well to the sink. Now unfortunately, I don't have a lot of clearance with this sink on the back here, and so I'm actually going to take this blade out of here to give myself a little bit more room. Again, it's going to be kind of difficult to get all this caulk out, but I'll do my best. And there you have it, the end result. Now there's always going to be some residual caulk still left there. I could work on a little bit more, but I think this is pretty good. Now after you get most of the caulk off, you want to clean it and dry it as best you can. You want to make sure that the joint there is nice and dry. Okay, so after you get all the old caulk off, you have a few choices for, actually quite a lot of choices for the new caulk or sealant that you use. Now I like to use little kitchen and bath sealant caulk in these smaller tubes like this. You can go with a nice caulk gun. This is an old one. You can see how grody it is. And just get a tube cartridge like this. But for these smaller jobs, you're not going to use a ton of caulk. So for these kind of cartridges, you may only use a fraction of it. And these don't, once you clip the tip, they don't really stay very well, and you'll probably waste the rest of it. Even this this tube here, you're not going to use it all, and once again, it's cut, and probably a lot of it's going to go to waste unless you have other applications. Also, if you have really tight corners, like we've already figured that this back portion of the sink's really tight, these more flexible tubes are much easier to kind of get back here than these more stiff caulking guns. So again, I like this, but if you like the caulking gun, go for it. Okay, so taking off the cap here, you'll notice that it is sealed, the tip, and so you'll have to cut this with a knife or a razor blade. Now looking closer at this particular tip, if I could focus in here, you can actually see some couple of lines here that help guide you in terms of how to cut it. You could cut it any way you want, as large as you want. You could either do it at an angle, which I recommend, or you can even just do straight on. Now these guidelines are a little bit misleading because it doesn't really tell you the size of the actual opening, because the plastic tip here has a thickness. And so what I would recommend is try to get a hole which is maybe as small as 1/8 to perhaps 1/4 of an inch, and start, you might have to cut it several times. We kind of start small, and if you need to make it larger, make it larger. Just don't pick a line, because quite often that might be a bigger hole than you would like. And there you go. Got it on my first hit, and that's about the size I want, so that's about 1/4 of an inch. Now, as you apply this, I wouldn't worry too much about it curing or drying right away. It will take a little while, so you have plenty of time. And I would think a smaller bead rather than a thicker bead. You could always add more later, but the initial pass will not look that pretty, but I'll show you a technique at the end to smooth it all up. Now you're not trying to actually fill in this entire space, you're just trying to fill in the gap in between the countertop and the sink itself, just to waterproof that seal. Now, as I feared, this back part's going to be really tricky, and I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to get back here. Okay, from here I just like to get a paper towel, just have it handy, and you're just going to use one of your fingers. Now you could wear gloves if you want, but I just do it with my bare hands. So people have different preferences in terms of fingers. Just kind of, you know, you can use your index finger or pinky, but you are going to kind of like rub it lightly, kind of smooth it in, press it in, not too hard. If you press too hard, it'll kind of squish around your fingers and you might get it all messy on the sides, which you don't have to worry about because you could just wipe it up with some water and paper towel, dry it off, start from scratch. You have plenty of time before this hardens, unless you get that really quick drying kind. So we're just going to do it with a nice little gentle hand. I'm just going to use my ring finger here and just do it just nice and gentle, just around, kind of clean it up as I go. Just do it lightly initially. Just you try and just get it kind of seated in there. Try not to press too hard. And it may not look perfect initially, but we'll go over it a couple of times before we're done. And again, if you press too hard, you're just going to kind of smear it. So just start lightly, you're just kind of removing a little bit at a time, and then just kind of wiping off the residue with your finger. Now you can see my problem back here, so I'm just going to do my best. I couldn't even get it in the gap here, but I'm going to just kind of press it in, try to see if I can get this in here. Okay, so now that we get the majority off with a couple of passes, we're just going to kind of go over it a little bit more, and you can see as I continue, it kind of smooths its way out. Again, you want to do this in stages, or you'll just kind of smear it everywhere. So just go lightly, maybe switch fingers. And there you have the final product. I think it came out pretty good. Now you do want these to dry for a while, maybe even a few hours. Some of them will dry faster than that depending on the brand you purchased. But I hope this video helped you out, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.